Right. Hello, beautiful, amazing souls. Thank you so much for joining in for another episode of PinOak's Pals. Here is episode number 4 with my beautiful Allis. Well, AwakenAtlas. You can check them out at the link down below. Allis is an amazing soul. I'm so grateful to be able to share this conversation with you today. And today, for the viewers, we are going to be discussing multidimensional consciousness and how it ripples into our physical three-dimensional reality. So if we'd like to get started with a little bit of gratitude, I'm super grateful. And I want to say hello to everyone in the chat. So hello, Brendan. Hello, Kelly. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Johnny. Thank you, everyone who will be joining in the future as well. Gratitude. Let's see. I'm really grateful for the weather recently has been kind of bipolar, and it's really put me in a place of being trying to not rely so much on the weather for my mood. Like, I love the sun, I thrive off of it, and so the cloudy days have encouraged me to kind of step out of that. So I'm really grateful for that ability to do. And I'm really grateful for all the love that we share in this beautiful community and the connections that we have made through sharing spaces just like this. So
wonderful.
You all would like to leave your gratitude down in the chat. Alice, you can as well.
I have kind of a funny gratitude. I'm really grateful I found a new toy for my cat. She's been like kind of like antsy recently, and I was like, oh, she's bored. So now we're she's like definitely my familiar, and I feel like I've been able to connect with her more, and she's been feeling happier. So that's what I'm grateful for.
It's the little things.
Little spirit animal. I know. She's like my child. So yeah.
Well, good. I'm grateful for happy kitties too.
Definitely.
Well, if we would like to go ahead and get started with a short meditation, gather and collect our energy, and then we can move on to this beautiful discussion space. So if you are here and you would like to join us in the meditation, please feel free to find a comfortable position. Allow your shoulders to relax. We'll begin by taking a nice deep breath in. And exhale. Breath in. And release. And one more breath in. And release. I invite you in this moment to bring your awareness to the center of your chest. And I invite you to connect with your heart center and imagining this beautiful green energy in the center of your chest, beginning to grow and glow, and you can even feel a warming sensation as this ball of energy grows in your chest. And with each breath, I invite you to imagine this ball growing and moving through the muscles in your body, through the torso and down the arms, through the legs, allowing each part to release any tension that may be holding from the day. And inviting you to bring this energy all the way down to the tips of your fingers and the tips of your toes, filling your body with peaceful, loving energy. And I invite you to imagine this green glow beginning to expand and form around the outside of your body, over your head and around your arms, around the bottoms of your feet. And you can imagine this glow beginning to form a crystalline shell that puts you in a nice little sphere of warm love. And we can imagine the sphere filling with peaceful energy, encouragement, inspiration, love. Anything else you would like to bring into this beautiful space? And we'll welcome these energies into our body with a nice breath in. And on the exhale, releasing any remaining tension in the body. Whenever you're ready, you can begin to bring your awareness back to this now moment, wiggling your fingers and your toes, your knees and your toes, opening your eyes whenever you're ready. Thank you all so much for joining me in that little meditation. To get us started today, I would love to talk about multidimensional consciousness for just a moment and what exactly that means. And this comes from a place of my own understanding. And I encourage you, as you listen to this conversation, to get curious and think about how this might apply in your own spaces. So as a multidimensional being, what I mean by that with your consciousness. So if your consciousness is a fragment of your awareness, understanding that you are a multidimensional being, that you exist on multiple planes of reality. So we can talk about this in a way whenever we speak about time. And time is a great example because it is also a construct that has been placed for us to help understand the passing of moments. And as you can see your past time, so if you look at yourself and you're walking throughout your day and you see an old friend on the street, and as you see this old friend, you get a flash of memories that come to you of the last time you saw them, and you get overwhelmed with the love, and you see them and you're so grateful and you give them a hug, and in that moment you're like, this is amazing. That is a moment where you are accessing your multidimensional consciousness because you are remembering a memory that happened in the past as if it's in this now. You're connecting. And so I think where I'd like to go with this, Alice, is just to get a little bit of clarity from your perspective of what multidimensional consciousness kind of feels in your own spaces.
Wonderful. Yeah, I love the way you put that, where it's like an example that's really approachable. I think people are already like, whether you know it or not, you're already interdimensional. You've already experienced time travel. You've already, even if you just, you don't know what it is, it's just a natural part of being a human. And it's like when you hear a song or something, it's like you've put part of yourself in that and you can kind of travel back to it. I think for myself, like when I really discovered, this is actually kind of an interesting like memory that's coming up. I guess I have two things to say, but the first one is that I think the first time I really like understood the power of love was when actually I was like a teenager and I was like in love for the first time, and I had this distinct understanding, like, I have known this person before. I actually think this person and it was like the love itself was what allowed me to understand like time travel or like the existence of what was going on. It was unreal. And I think that's kind of the key a little bit is that love. Because now that I've gone through the process of being like, well, how do I connect to this universal love? I can have this feeling all the time of this interdimensionality. And that's kind of for me been like the switch. When I wasn't spiritually connected, I think I relied actually too much on other people and too much on that understanding that kind of interdimensionality. But it's so funny when I talk to, so this is the second thing that I was going to say, the original thing I was going to say, was when I talk to my guides, they will show up and it'll be because they are in an existence where they feel everything all at once and time doesn't exist. In order to interact with them, they have to sort of make you like them, and you have to, and so you get to experience this feeling of like almost floating or like everythingness, which is really incredible. But it's not something that's exclusive, I guess. It's kind of like they're like, that's just where you're gonna be, buddy. I just needed to say something. I'm gonna put you back now. Don't even worry about it.
You really relate with that, especially in channeling. Like, have you ever had a moment when you're channeling, you're like doing a reading and you get all this information, it's juicy, okay, and it comes out, and then the very next minute you're like, I have no idea what
that wasn't me talking. Yeah, I don't know who said that. Can you tell me what I just said? Because I was excited about it, and I don't, yeah, like, and then, or they'll ask you a question and you're like, it's gone. So I hope you wrote that down.
Valuable in the moment.
Yeah, it was just life-saving information. What was it?
It's okay. We can tap back in and get more.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's one of the reasons why I was inspired to have this conversation, was because I have been really focusing on kind of really learning more about my past lives over the last year and a half. I've been doing a lot of regressions and healing sessions and feeling super great about it. But as I heal my past life, the memories, they just keep coming and unlocking. And for me, they happen in forms of visions. And so it'll be like going about my day, do. And then I'll get this vision of a past life come to me. And it's like, okay, that was a whole moment. Where am I at? Oh, that's right. I'm here. I'm on campus. There's a tree right there. Like the skies are, I have to kind of like reorient myself. And so because I've been having these experiences, I just thought it would be really helpful to share, because I know I can't be the only one. Also, another way that I can relate to it is in the dream space. So whenever we go into the dream space, we travel all kinds of dimensions. We have the ability to go through and into unlimited spaces. And especially because I am someone that lucid dreams, I have a tendency to really remember and feel where I was when I was asleep. So when I wake up in the morning and I'm back here in this physical existence, I kind of have to ground myself and remind myself, like, oh yeah, I'm here. I'm in Missouri. This is my home, like here and now. And so I think understanding that on any level, whether you are someone who is spiritual and into learning about your past lives, your future lives, or even different dimensional versions of yourself, like if you're connecting into your guides, or like for myself, I always really connect with the Fae. And so of course, like I connect and communicate with the Fae, and I always feel like I'm on kind of a different level of existence when I'm connecting with them as well. And so yeah, I think learning different tips and tricks and seeing how it is in our spaces is super, super helpful. And I think just knowing that that your consciousness is something that exists to help evolve the physical form that you are in. And so I think the best like little bit of advice I can give for anyone that may be experiencing those kinds of situations is to just see that like every moment you are going through this, it's a lesson to learn how to be more present and to find that grounding. So those are the things that have worked with me. What tips have you used?
Oh yeah, I love that. Like that it's because like as you get more interdimensional, it just brings you more to the now. It's yeah, that's such a true thing, that like the more you can be in your body right now as you are, the more access you have to all other space times and all other like iterations of self, and these like memories that the body suddenly has access to. Because it's like if you just are still and you quiet your nervous system, that's the thing I always have the hardest time with. I'm actually fighting myself with my nerve. I'm like, part of my ego is like, we would really rather keep everything very disorganized. Please don't do this to us. Well, I found out the other day, for anyone who I don't know, this is just what this means for me. I found out that my Chiron is in my 12th house. And so for myself, the way that I've been able to visualize my healing has been through, and this is just through Western astrology. I'm just grasping at whatever feels good. But it feels like it's like, as I heal that original wound that let the light in, it's like, I have to open myself up to interdimensionality. So it's kind of like, this is the scariest thing for me, like the simultaneous nowness and the interdimensionality. So I really think for me, the thing that's been helping is been settling my nervous system. When I felt like my spiritual awakening started before I was like, wait. I just wanted to heal my like mental illness. I didn't want to get into all of this. I didn't know. I don't know if I would have been like so gung-ho if I'd known. So, but what my guides originally, once it was like agreed, they were like, great. So you said, yes, there's something, now there's something, you're looking at it. So don't be afraid, but there's something you can't technically see. I was like, oh, this is going to be a nightmare, isn't it? So, but it was really all about like, you can perceive that you're looking at it already. Like everything is in plain sight, but it's as you rest your nervous system, as you recognize like, and this is when I was also given this name, the full name that goes along with my sigil is all is and all is well. And so that's why I decided to take that on as my name so that I never forget. All is and all is well. Whatever I come across, even if it's super scary, and like a lot of it's super scary, a lot of it's super overwhelming. I'm out of breath just thinking about it. It's like, oh, all is well though, like whatever it is. So I have to always come back to that. But it's so hard for me that I had to name myself after it. And I think that's why my guides came to me, because they were like, we know this one's going to be tough for you.
Oh my gosh, I love that, Allis. It really is. It really is though, because it's like you're like, yeah, I'm gonna work on my healing. I'm gonna do that. And you're like, I'm not really 100% sure where this is gonna take me, but I'm up for the ride. And then it kind of starts to get crazy, and you're like, all right, well, I'm already this far. Let's see where.
There is no going. There is a threshold but I think it's like there's so in the same, yeah, like it's multidimensional and it's now, and so it's like, oh gosh, all possibilities. But then it's like, but what is for you can never miss you. So it's like being literally in like one of these like haunted house rides, or like a ride where you're kind of strapped in, and they're like, oh, there are gonna be like actors essentially that come out and try to scare you, but like, oh, you're here for the ride and you're here for the whole experience too. And it turns out like these actors are like performing for you a memory that you're trying to trigger within yourself. So it's always exciting, but it is sometimes important for me to remember like, okay, if I'm feeling overwhelmed, it's usually just my body. It's usually just the now body. That's feeling like, oh, I need a break. I need to chill out. Yeah, at first, definitely, I would stay up and I'd be like, and I actually think I think I hit a burnout this summer. I went I went at the exact speed I needed to, which is ironic, but it was like, I went so fast, everything happened so fast. And I was up all night reading this information or channeling, or I'd like come across something and then I'd have to look it up, or like there was all sorts of different like information from all sides. And it felt like, 2020, like there was just no veil. You were just in and out all the time. And time didn't exist at all. And now I feel like it's like 2021 has just been this extended hangover for me. like God.
Or like after the bath of psychedelics, where you get kind of like waves where it's like, oh, okay, no, wait, we're back.
Oh, we're back. We're back. Oof, yeah. Yeah, because you need to be able to live in both. And I wish, well, I don't wish, it's because it's part of it where it's actually so relieving that you can channel anything you want and you're still in this body. You're not going to get sucked up. You're not going to die. You're going to be right here. And so it's kind of like, because there is the nowness we're free to explore everything so much. But if the now moment, if the body is in duress and you can't even protect, and they don't feel like, they're like, well, you can't even protect me. I'm not letting you go anywhere. What are you talking about? Like, let's stay on the topic here.
Yeah. Exactly. Which is why grounding is always so important. Like getting a good grounding practice. And even if you're not somebody that's like wants to, meditate or go outside, like just develop a good breath work system, like something to bring you back into your body, into the now moment. So if you're at a place where maybe you feel challenged because you're experiencing the multidimensional being that you are, I always find my breath brings me back to exactly where I'm at in this now moment. And then also, just to touch on it, and then I want to go to another place with it, but
Yeah.
also just to be aware too, that like to hold space for yourself, because if you are somebody who does tend to connect with your other dimensional versions, then whenever you come back and you check in with your now moment, things may not be so great, and hold space for yourself, because it's okay for things to not be super great. And that's it. Just know that it's okay.
Yeah. Change is scary for the person. Persons thinks change is scary. And we got to be nice to the person about it.
Our bodies are so important. And I think too, okay, so multidimensional beings. All right, so lots of areas we can go. I would love to talk about connecting with, I would love to just talk about how actually our guides speak to us in this physical reality. So like for me, I see my guides very much as other dimensional beings, depending on which guides I'm connecting with. And so, you know, if I'm in one of those moments where, hey, I need to be really present in this now moment, I'm going about my day, maybe I'm not ready for the full message, or I'm doing other things, my guides and will find ways to send messages through to me. So sometimes it'll be through symbols, which we could go on about how symbols are in and of itself a dimensional thing, because listen, okay, just for a second. So
yeah, let's
so
go
like,
on, go on. Just
like, okay,
indulge.
you get yourself, you're going down the street, right? And you see the stop sign, and you know to stop because there's a stop sign in front of you. Okay, but hear me out. When along the lines did a octagonal red shape that says letters on it shaped in a specific direction mean something? It's a form, it's a thought form somebody had. They brought it, so this thought form came down into the physical reality, and they said, okay, how can I get this to be something that somebody else can understand? They created a two-dimensional version of it to say, get this idea out of a thought form and into physical reality, and then moved it into 3D reality by creating a sign that stands in front of you. And then through the ways that you have learned to interpret, read, and understand your physical reality is how you're able to look at the stop sign and see what that means and just know. And the fact that this all happens in the matter of like a second just blows my mind away, because it's all things like, how do I even know the words? We learn them as we grow, you know, and it's like goes into light language. Whenever you're speaking light language, how do you know what you're saying? Well, you're just trusting what you're saying because you know it somewhere inside of you. You learned this in another plane, and you're just channeling forward what you already know. And so it's just as simple as like reading a book. Whenever you learn to read a written language, you're taught how to write the letters and how to understand that this letter has this vowel, which forms this word that means this thing. And whenever you put them all together, it creates a whole thought form that now someone else can understand. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then it's like the context of that too. That's like the different cultures and everything too. That's why I think that channeling is so interesting. We could maybe let me know the direction that we're going in here. But I feel like also I've gotten the impression that like the guides that we have are very specific to not like training the human consciousness, but they are much either closer to well, the Pleiadians are the only ones that I can channel like definitive word. I think they're literally physically closer to us, and then they did exist on this earth, so they are like here, their energy is still here, so they are much clearer to understand. But it's like the guides that we have as humans might not be all of our iterations, but they are the ones who are their challenge, their thing that they find exciting is like they're like, how can I talk to this creature? They have to cut through societal, like it's like the symbols of things are societal. We have a totally different language. Like every like 10 years, the culture has changed, and then like what country are you in? So we're talking about like time space that we're having to get through. So our guides themselves are also like quite magnificent beings, because that means that they have, or they are working on their mastery of interdimensionality themselves, of like contacting it, because not all of them are interested in it. Some of them are like, that's just not my bag. So
Facts. And that's so yeah, like I mean, when we talk about fairies, and I love my fairies, and it's so funny to me because I have always loved fairies since I was a kid. I always remember going out in the woods and playing with fairies. Now, of course, as I was growing up, it was a childhood fun, just enjoying life. And I will tell you, the older I get, the more I believe in fairies, the more I believe in them. I know they're
Oh yeah.
I know they're here, but it's just like, if in doubt, they will always show me a little sign, a little thing. Like I'll share a small example I had. So I have this, like, I don't know, I love trees. I have a very soul connection with trees. And whenever I
Oh
connect,
man.
I love
There's just a good tree. Like for instance, there are two trees in my backyard, but one of them's like my best friend tree. The other one's like, hey, what's going on? But there's just what weird buds. I don't know. Like,
And so I've always been drawn to the trees that look kind of like fingers, there's like a bunch of them all together, and there's like a mass, and then there's a bunch of trees. I don't know if you've seen those, but there's a lot of them in Missouri. So it's always been something I've been interested in. I've always called it a fairy tree because it's like, it's a portal. It is what it is what it is. I'm telling you, out of nowhere the other day, I was walking down the street and I heard a little kid point to a tree like that and go, "Look, mommy, it's a fairy tree." This little kid was like 5. Okay. There's no way that anybody, and the mom wasn't like, I didn't turn around and be like, yeah, that's 100% a fairy tree. Just like, moments like that happen. And it's like, that to me is how our multidimensional consciousness exists within this reality, because that's just how it's all connected. And also understanding that I think the biggest part of being a multidimensional consciousness is understanding that we are all connected to this multidimensional consciousness. So it's not like I have my own thing going on and Allis has her own thing, like we do, yes, first of all, but then at the same time, while that's happening, we are also connected to this greater grid, this larger this larger thing that brings us all together. And so whenever we are talking about the fact that we are multidimensional, we can get into the fact that we have the ability to connect through telepathy, the quantum field. Also, we could go in that direction as well. But this is like I said, this is a broad topic, and I'm so grateful that we're getting a chance to discuss it. I think the biggest thing, yeah, definitely, is the fact that we're all connected. We're all connected to this multidimensional consciousness. And it's really funny because when you think about it, it's like we're all part of it. So we're all the same, but then we are all different. We all do have our own branches of it. And so I think that's one of the reasons why it can be harder to understand, or to even in this moment, I'm struggling to find the words to talk about it, even though it's something that I feel like I have a fairly good concept on, because it's like, how do you describe something that is so intangible but also very tangible? And so I just appreciate you tackling this conversation.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, because it's how do you describe everything? It's beyond speech, because speech is such a limited way of communicating in general, and language, and trying to write something out. I think that's why like writing in general is like a craft, because you're like, you have to have read a certain amount and like know enough about the language to know how to manipulate it, like the grammar enough to know how to manipulate it, and then to when to back away from the rules to create to get the implication of like, see, now we're splitting from these rules, and you'll know it through my language use. But like, that person has to know what they have to have already had that background too. But it's like the Taoists say, it's that the Tao that can be named is not the true Tao. And I think it's because it's like, life is art. And so it's kind of like, oh, it's everything. It's like the dance, it's the creative expression, and how we're viewing everything. I always love those songs that are, there's a trope in music where it's like they're singing about a song, but it's not the song, it's the song about the song. For instance, the Monster Mash is not the Monster Mash. It is a song about them, in honor and reverence of the Monster Mash. And that's literally what we're doing. Like, our whole lives are like in tribute to that one thing that all of us are aware of, like our like our oneness. And yet we are like in a body which is incapable of fully expressing it. And so it's like the best we can do is like, let's make art, or like, let's connect, or like, let's love, and like, we'll see what happens.
I love that. It's so perfect. It really, oh, that made my heart so happy. Yeah, it's one of those things where you can go through life and you can limit yourself if you'd like. That's a choice. You can choose that. But what happens when you try to not limit yourself, and not put this like oh, I have to be this particular way. Like I can only live in this one realm of, so I'm gonna break this off into a little bit of a concept. So if it's, I hope it makes sense. So like even just within my own self, I have in this physical reality, in this space that you all see me, you know me as PinOakRising, right? So I am this PinOakRising, this person that you see that does these shows or pulls cards or whatever it is that I'm doing, doesn't quite matter, but I'm a PinOakRising, right? I'm also Kristen Blair, who has a life, who has a job, who at that job, I'm also that particular Kristen, and that's a whole nother, and then with my friends, what about the different friend groups? And now what about my family? And so like understanding that you have a different part of your being that wishes to be expressed in different moments in different spaces. And that may look different, might look the same, maybe they'll cross over. But I think the important part is understanding that not to be hard on yourself if you feel like you should be the same in all of those spaces, because I feel like that's limiting yourself. Like allow yourself to be PinOakRising and Kristen Blair and work Kristen and friend Kristen and whatever it may be. Like allow yourself to be all the different versions of yourself. Allow yourself to be angry Kristen. Allow yourself to be happy, fun Kristen. It's like, even if you can break it down to the different emotions, that in and of itself is a form of consciousness, because it's your consciousness trying to express what it is understanding in this physical reality in a way that it knows how to, through you in the lessons that you have learned, to be able to show up and express it. And so I think that's why it's so cool, because even though we're all connected to this one universal multidimensional consciousness, we all have our own ways of understanding, learning, and figuring out how to express it into our physical reality. And so, yeah, sometimes it looks like dance, sometimes it looks like painting, sometimes it's even just communication. Like what we're doing right now is creating its own form of art. And yeah, I think that whenever we come back to the center of all of it, it's truly beautiful to me to see that. And I think this is it's like the most beautiful part, whenever I can look at somebody and see like, you are 1,000% different to me, but we still have 1% that's in common that will always connect us. And I can find that place to love and to find the joy. And rather than trying to judge that or suppress it or tell it that it needs to be a particular way, just allowing yourself to flow, I think is the big.
Yeah, I love that about that it's about the expression, and that like the flow of the channel. So if we imagine that each of us is a channel, we have certain, it's kind of like our body is not like set necessarily, but has kind of a general, like things that you would do that are in character, rather. And you've got kind of a past, and you've got all you've got like your astrological stuff. There's things that make up what would be considered to be you. And then like you look a certain way. But it's like each of us is this instrument, and all we're required to do is like fill it with as much air and breath and love, so that it can sing its song to the fullest extent of what it is. And it doesn't matter. One of my favorite poems is Mary Oliver's Wild Geese. So I have a tattoo. I didn't even know there's like a festival surrounded this poem is so powerful, but the first line is, you do not have to be good. And then in the end, it's like, all you have to do is let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. And that's so powerful, because as long as you're not abandoning, like that's like the ultimate definition of not, how do I stop abandoning myself? Just be all of it. Just see like whatever comes up is exactly the way it's supposed to be. And last night, Boggy and I were talking about the hero's journey on our Chi Chat on Tuesday night, and I'd forgotten, because I just kind of was doing like the Joseph Campbell, like kind of looking it up, and I forgot that Joseph Campbell actually we call it the hero's journey, but he named it I think he called it now I can't even remember, but it was something of the multi-faced God, or like the multi-faced hero, or and that's really what it is, where it's like it's not necessarily an integration, but it's like an honoring and acknowledgement of each of the facets. Because if we're light, like we are light facets in each. It's like this body is literally like a crystal. We've got like the divine light that goes through us, and we are shining little lights on each of these different facets of ourselves. And some of those facets are it's like it's so, again, so weird, so surreal to try to describe it, but it's kind of like sometimes you're in this light and it's like your guide is the last version of you who also stood in that exact light, and they're kind of, and it's sort of like it reminds you like, what did I do when I did that last time? And then that version of you is your guide, but they're different enough from you that you're like, oh, this is a totally different being. This is like, I can't, and but until you recognize yourself, what's that like, when people hold up their pet to the mirror, they're like, that's you, bud, that's you. And you're just, I don't know, like it is such a funny, we're in this funny stage where we're looking at ourselves in the mirror, right? We're like, we've held ourselves up and we're like, okay, I know that everyone I see is me. I know that everything I'm looking at is me, but now to the fun part, the fun part is not like perfection and wholeness. It's the illusion of like having to learn this over again is also exciting. Even when it feels overwhelming, to always be like, this is a perfectly natural part of being a human.
Yeah. I saw a TikTok today that was like this girl, she was talking about her spiritual awakening. And she was like, is anybody else at the point where it's like, you lose your car keys and you're like, oh, it's all for the better good. And it's like you miss your plane and you're like, oh, I must have had a lesson to learn. And it's like getting to a point in life where you're just kind of like, everything that happens, it's not so much of like turning a blind eye, but just being like okay with it and understanding that it's okay to be whatever and have it happen. And I think the power comes in whenever you understand that like you have the choice to choose in which direction you move. You may not always be able to control the things that happen around you or the places that you're in, but you do have that ability to choose which direction you're going to go in. And so for myself, when I'm struggling or I'm trying to find a new direction to go in or moving, maybe I'm evolving, maybe I'm transforming yet again, and we're trying to understand which direction we want to grow from here. And you're right, you kind of check back in with that old version of yourself and you're like, okay, that worked, that didn't, I learned that, I kind of like that, maybe I'll bring that with me. But then you tap into this future version of you, right? And you look into the possibilities and you say, okay, well, where do I want to go moving forward? What do I want my life to look like? What can I imagine for myself? And typically when you ask yourself that question, you might have a few things pop up. Maybe not. Maybe you're like, you've been doing this a while and you're already pretty clear on where you're going. But either way, you'll have possibilities come up. And I think that each of those possibilities are different timeline versions of you that are existing in this now moment. And that's why you're tapping into them. And even though you never make that choice to go down that other road, you're at a crossroads. It's okay to choose and move down a road and say, okay, I really liked how that other road could have gone, but I chose this road, knowing that that other road is happening. And you can still tap into that joy or those, ideals, the thoughts. You can even jump over to the other timeline if you want to. Like it's your life. You have the opportunity to live it. And I just encourage each and every one of you that is listening to be able to give yourself the chance to explore your multidimensional consciousness, the spaces that exist within you and how they are reflected out into your world, and to move forward, not with judgment of yourself, but with joy and excitement for the things that make you different, unique, and special. So
do you need to, was that work again? All right, I figured.
Yeah.
They were like, you said, what else do you need to say? You said we're here, you said we're there. You said have fun. Great. Interdimensionality. That's it, right? Have fun. Everything's possible. Great.
Did we sum it up?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we can all. That's anything anyone would need to know, frankly, about the topic. Like.
Awesome. Allis, thank you so much. I am gonna have to end this shortly because I have an on-call, so I'm gonna go help somebody on campus and be
fantastic. Yeah.
A woman for a moment. I appreciate your wisdom. This has been absolutely lovely. For everyone that is watching this now or in the future, please feel free to connect with Allis. They're, like I said, they are listed down below. They offer their own services. They do beautiful readings. Find them on TikTok too. They're really funny and all the good stuff. So I love our journey. I'm so grateful to be able to share this with you. And also just throwing in there for anyone who is excited and interested, we will be having another creator connection expose happening this Sunday, 1 p.m. CDT, 2 p.m. EDT. And the rest of that information will be listed down below the video as well. So if you'd like to connect with us for that, that will be a beautiful session with lots of creators coming together to share their wisdom and also some projects that they're working on. So I'm really excited to be able to connect with the Ascended team and look forward to moving forward. And Allis might be there as well. So
I think I'm there for some of it. I realized I have a writing thing that I just started, and it's only my second one. So I'm like, I should probably be there for it. But I think I'll be able to, I think I can be, in two places at once. So
practice, you give you a chance to practice that
my interdimensionality. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, well, I send everyone off with lots of love and so much gratitude. Thank you all for being you, doing all that you do, and continue rippling your unique self out into the world. Sending you off with all my love, and I will put Allis on gallery view. Can you do love splash with me? Do you know the love splash?
Oh,
do you know the love splash?
I don't remember it, but I am recalling it. Tell me.
Because love splash is a little thing we do here in the cove, and it's just you just get your shoulders, you wiggle them, and then you do the wave, and then you.
Oh, I really like that. That's really cool because it gets the whole heart. I love that. Cool.
Bring everyone out with lots of love and all the splashes. Okay, how do I end? Okay, end stream. Bye, guys. Like one of these days, I'm gonna figure out how to not